man that is viewed on the individual level can be considered morally guilt-free, but if he is fighting a war on the unjust side, even if he is just following orders, he's a valid target and can still be viewed as an unjust cause. Just or unjust can be viewed differently based on the country's needs and beliefs. Like, for example, Putin attacking Ukraine. He felt that he was just to reorganize and unify the previous Soviet Union, so even if he's not right in his beliefs, it's determined by his views. There's ROE that identify who is considered combatant, not combatant. For example, chaplain is a non-combatant, but can be surrounded by combatants and could be considered collateral damage. Medics, and then things like churches, historical buildings, schools, are normally considered non-valid targets. In the previous wars, it was easy to identify combatants because of the uniforms. In the current wars, like Afghanistan and Iraq, they just like everybody else, and they surround themselves by civilians as cover, so it's a little hard to determine the rules of engagement to attack the combatants. At the Islamic Conference in Kuwait, it was distinguished that brutal terror attacks are not condoned by individuals, groups, or states, but the liberation of oppressed people is okay. But a lot of terrorists will conduct acts under this cause because they feel like that we handled Iraq. They feel that's fair to attack us, our innocence, as part of liberation of their country. And that's the liberation is considered a positive. Terrorism is considered a negative. Freedom fighters don't kill innocent children, women, and other groups of people. Terrorists do. War tradition is defined as when a country is attacked and defends itself, or comes to the aid to other countries that lack capabilities to defend themselves. Just war tradition can be perceived differently by opposing sides of an issue. For example, a country such as Kuwait that was attacked for their ports and oil access can feel that they were attacked unjustly, but the Iraqi people that attacked felt they needed a port, so in their mind they was able to justify it. Combatants versus non-combatants. If a country attacks unjustly another country, the soldier could still be morally guilt-free, but be following orders, still puts him at risk of being killed because he is conducting for the larger cause that is unjust. Whether the war is just or not, the rules of engagement need to be followed. For example, if a parachutist jumps out of a plane when it's been attacked, then they cannot be engaged, but an airborne soldier can be engaged as they come to the ground because they are seen as combatants. Medics and chaplains are seen as non-combatants, but it's kind of a fine line with chaplains because they are protected by combatants when they are in war zones. There is the right to lawfully kill people if they become dangerous to the communities they are attacking. That makes them a combatant, in my opinion. And public authorities, such as police, have the right to use lethal force when necessary, as well as soldiers. Some changes between the previous wars, like World War II, and then the current conflict in Iraq and Afghanistan, is back in World War II, the soldiers were identified with uniforms, and you knew they were combatants. Nowadays, like in Iraq and Afghanistan, everybody's dressed the same, and the combatants will use civilians as cover, so it makes the rules of engagement harder to follow, and they'll have a clear line for the enemy to be identified. There's boundaries between terrorism and other forms of political violence, such as national liberation forces believing they are helping their oppressed people, but yet they can conduct terrorist attacks under disguise in order to instill fear with the word terrorism. Guerrilla warfare is when they are defending their nation and do it with less than honorable means, such as Americans go to that with the American Revolution, because they didn't fight the way the British thought they should fight. They hid in the woods, so that can be considered as guerrilla warfare, as opposed to terrorism, where they attack innocents, whether they be civilians, hospitals, medics, any type of non-combatant where the civilians are gathered. Terrorism can be given a different name, so that as conduct act of terrorism can be viewed as national liberation forces, so as to take so people don't have the fear from the word terrorism, but yet the action still can be justified, even though they shouldn't be. The Islamic Conference in Kuwait distinguished that brutal terrorist acts are not condoned, but the legitimate struggle of oppressed people is justified. They can conduct terrorist acts under disguise as a means to justify them. And freedom fighters don't attack innocent groups of population like children, women. Terrorists do this.